In today's world, most people live with restless minds. They scroll endlessly, get angry at small things, and collapse under the weight of stress, fear, and opinions. But have you ever wondered why some people stay calm, unshaken, and unbreakable, no matter what life throws at them? This is the monk's secret. A way of thinking so strong that it silences every distraction, every fear, and every weakness that controls ordinary minds. Once you understand it, the world will no longer shake you. Instead, you'll stand unshakable while others fall apart. The first weakness of the mind is craving. Look around in today's world. People are trapped by endless wants, the latest phone, constant validation on social media, fast pleasures that fade just as quickly. And because of this, they are easily controlled. Advertisements, trends, and even people can pull their strings. But a monk's secret is different. He turns desire into discipline. Instead of being a slave to cravings, he watches them rise, understands them, and then lets them pass without chasing them. This doesn't mean he rejects life, but that he no longer bows down to every temptation. When you reach this level of detachment, nobody can manipulate you with promises of pleasure or threats of loss. Desire controls weak minds, but the one who masters desire becomes truly free, unshakable, and powerful. Weak minds are noisy minds. They are filled with constant overthinking, endless chatter, and thoughts that never seem to stop. In today's world, this has only gotten worse. Notifications, news, arguments, and distractions keep people's minds spinning like a wheel that never rests. And because of this noise, they lose clarity, make poor decisions, and live in constant stress. A monk's secret is silence. Not just outer silence, but an inner silence that brings peace even in the middle of chaos. In silence, the mind sharpens. It becomes like a still lake that reflects everything clearly. While the weak are drowning in their own restless thoughts, the monk is calm, centered, and in control. This silence is not emptiness, it is strength. It is the power to observe emotions without being dragged by them, to hear the world without losing yourself in it, and to choose your response instead of reacting blindly. The one who can master silence gains control over himself, and the one who controls himself cannot be controlled by anyone else. Weak minds are noisy minds. They are filled with constant overthinking, endless chatter, and thoughts that never seem to stop. In today's world, this has only gotten worse. Notifications, news, arguments, and distractions keep people's minds spinning like a wheel that never rests. And because of this noise, they lose clarity, make poor decisions, and live in constant stress. A monk's secret is silence, not just outer silence, but an inner silence that brings peace even in the middle of chaos. In silence, the mind sharpens. It becomes like a still lake that reflects everything clearly. While the weak are drowning in their own restless thoughts, the monk is calm, centered, and in control. This silence is not emptiness. It is strength. It is the power to observe emotions without being dragged by them, to hear the world without losing yourself in it, and to choose your response instead of reacting blindly. The one who can master silence gains control over himself, and the one who controls himself cannot be controlled by anyone else. Most people collapse the moment life becomes uncomfortable. They quit when the work is too hard, complain when things don't go their way, and avoid anything that brings pain or struggle. This is the mark of a weak mind. It wants comfort at all costs. But monks are trained in the art of endurance. They sit in long hours of meditation despite the pain in their legs. They fast to discipline the body. They walk barefoot under the sun, and they accept loneliness as a teacher rather than an enemy. They understand a simple truth. What you endure, you transcend. When you stop running from discomfort, you take away its power over you. In today's world, endurance is one of the rarest strengths. People give up on goals because success doesn't come fast. They abandon relationships at the first sign of conflict. They distract themselves instead of facing their inner pain. But a monk's way is different. He embraces discomfort as the fire that shapes steel. Endurance doesn't mean you never feel pain. It means you refuse to let pain control you. The weak mind resists hardship and breaks under pressure, but the strong mind accepts it and grows stronger from it. Think about it. Storms destroy weak trees with shallow roots, but the oak that endures stands taller after every storm. In the same way, your endurance makes you unshakable. One of the strongest chains on the human mind is the constant hunger for approval. From childhood, people are taught to please parents, teachers, friends, and later society at large. They are rewarded when they obey and punished when they resist, and slowly, their identity begins to depend on what others think of them. In today's world, this weakness has multiplied. With every post, every photo, and every word shared online, people hold their breath, waiting for the reaction of others. Their mood rises and falls with likes, comments, and shares. They smile when praised and collapse when criticized. This is not freedom. This is slavery to opinion. Weak minds bend under this pressure because they cannot bear disapproval. They silence their truth out of fear of rejection. They abandon their values to fit in, and they build their lives around pleasing people who may not even care for them. They carry an invisible weight, the fear of being judged, ridiculed, or misunderstood. And that weight crushes their spirit. But a monk carries a different secret. He is detached from the voices of others. He has trained his mind to see opinions for what they are: fleeting thoughts, reflections of the speaker's own mind, not mirrors of his own worth. Praise does not intoxicate him, and insults do not shatter him. He does not rise higher when others lift him up, nor fall lower when they try to drag him down. His compass is not the crowd's applause, but the truth he knows within himself. This is not arrogance, it is freedom. It is the strength of living by principle instead of popularity. This detachment gives him unshakable clarity. Imagine walking through life unaffected by the gossip of neighbors, the jealousy of friends, or the judgment of strangers. Imagine standing in your truth without shrinking when criticized or inflating when praised. That is the monk's way. He knows that if he seeks to please everyone, he will lose himself. But if he remains true to his path, he cannot be shaken. Opinions will always exist. They surround you like the wind, sometimes gentle, sometimes violent. Weak minds are tossed around like leaves in a storm, but strong minds stand like mountains, unmoved and unbroken. And this is the secret. Once you stop living for the eyes of others, you become untouchable. You gain the rarest freedom, the freedom to live as you truly are, guided not by fear or approval, but by wisdom and inner strength. Weak minds collapse under the weight of opinions, but strong minds rise above them, belonging only to themselves. The greatest test of strength is not how much weight a person can lift, how loudly they can speak, or how many battles they can win against others. The greatest test of strength is how much control they have over themselves. The truth is simple, yet ignored. The untrained mind reacts instantly, blindly, and destructively, while the trained mind chooses with clarity, precision, and calmness. Most people believe their problems come from the outside world, from people who mistreat them, from unfair situations, from disappointments and betrayals. But if you look deeper, you'll see that what breaks them is not the event itself, but their uncontrolled reaction to it. An insult does not carry pain until the mind clings to it. Failure is not final until the mind accepts defeat. Loss is not unbearable until the mind refuses to let go. Weak minds collapse because they cannot separate what happens to them from how they respond to it. Think about how easily people are provoked in today's world. A stranger on the internet leaves a comment, and suddenly, anger consumes hours of their day. Someone cuts them off in traffic, and for the next 30 minutes, they carry the poison of rage in their chest. A rumor spreads in the workplace, and they allow it to ruin not only their mood, but their sense of self. Reactions dominate their lives, and because of this, they are constantly being controlled by others. The truth is harsh. When you react without control, you hand your power to whoever triggered you. In that moment, they own your peace, your energy, and your mind. And this is why weak minds are so easy to manipulate. They are puppets of their own impulses, slaves of every emotion that rises inside them. The monk walks a different path. He does not deny emotions, but he refuses to be ruled by them. He has trained himself to pause in the space between stimulus and response. That pause, invisible to most, is the ground of his freedom. When anger appears, he does not fight it, nor obey it. He watches it. He understands that anger is like fire. It burns only if you feed it fuel. When fear arises, he does not panic, because he has learned to see fear as a passing cloud in a vast sky. When desire tempts him, he does not react with blind indulgence, because he knows that the craving will fade if he does not give it his attention. This stillness, this ability to remain unmoved in the storm, is the monk's secret. He chooses his response deliberately, and because of that, no one can control him. Control over reactions is the highest form of power, for it means you are no longer a prisoner of the world around you. Imagine two people in the same situation. Both are insulted in public. The first explodes in anger, shouting, defending himself, and in doing so, he hands all his dignity to the crowd who now sees him shaken. The second remains calm, smiling with unshaken composure. The crowd wonders about his strength because he has refused to give them control over his mind. The insult was the same, but the outcome was entirely different, determined not by the words spoken, but by the reaction chosen. One became weaker than his enemy, while the other rose above him without speaking a single word. In our modern age, most people live in constant reaction. They react to news, to gossip, to insults, to disappointments, to desires, to fears. This is why their minds are restless and fragile. They are always being pulled by the strings of the outside world. They have forgotten the ancient truth. He who angers you conquers you. He who controls your emotions controls you. But the monk cannot be conquered because he has mastered the art of response. He is not cold or indifferent, but he responds with intention, not with impulse. His reactions are his own, chosen from wisdom, not stolen by emotions. And that makes him unshakable. This is the secret that makes weak minds collapse. They cannot hold themselves still. The moment something touches them, they break. But the strong mind, the disciplined mind, is like a mountain. The winds may roar, the storms may rage, but the mountain does not move. And this is the monk's way, unbroken, unbent, and untouchable, not because the world is gentle with him, but because his reactions are no longer chained to the world. The greatest tragedy of the modern world is not a lack of opportunity, but a lack of focus. Never in history have humans had so much information, entertainment, and comfort available at their fingertips. Yet never in history have minds been so restless, scattered, and easily broken. People wake up, and the first thing they do is reach for their phone, filling their minds with noise before they've even opened their eyes fully. Hours are wasted scrolling through the lives of others, comparing, judging, envying. Dreams are abandoned because they require too much effort, while distractions are welcomed because they offer instant pleasure. This constant state of scattering weakens the mind until it no longer knows what it truly wants. A weak mind is not destroyed by great tragedy. it is destroyed by 1,000 small distractions. The monk understands this danger, and his secret is to cut away what is meaningless and live only with purpose. To him, every action is intentional. Every step, every word, every thought is directed toward his higher goal. He knows that life is short and time is precious, and so he refuses to waste his energy on what does not lead to growth, wisdom, or compassion. When he eats with awareness. When he works with focus. When he rests fully without guilt. His life is not divided into fragments of noise, but unified by a clear direction. This is why he appears calm while others are restless, strong while others collapse. He has one purpose, and everything he does flows into it. Purpose is not simply having goals or ambitions. It is living with alignment. A person may have dreams of success, wealth, or recognition, but if their daily actions are consumed by distraction, they will remain weak. The monk's purpose is not shallow, but deeply rooted in the understanding of impermanence. He knows that every breath could be his last, and so every moment must matter. He lives in such a way that nothing is wasted, and in this lies his strength. While weak minds are pulled in 1,000 directions, the monk's mind is like an arrow, straight, focused, unstoppable. Consider how the world breaks those without purpose. A man without direction becomes addicted to entertainment, scrolling endlessly, yet achieving nothing. A woman without clarity becomes enslaved by the opinions of others, shaping her life to please the crowd, but never discovering herself. A student without focus spends more time avoiding work than actually doing it, and years are lost in procrastination. These are not failures of intelligence, but failures of purpose. Without purpose, the mind becomes vulnerable to every distraction, every temptation, every passing desire, and in that state, collapse is inevitable. But when you live with purpose, everything changes. Suddenly, distractions lose their power. Entertainment becomes a choice, not an escape. Gossip becomes noise, unworthy of your time. The opinions of others no longer matter because your path is clear and your direction is set. A purposeful life is a shield against weakness because it gives you something higher to endure for, to fight for, and to grow toward. This is why monks appear untouchable. Their purpose is greater than comfort, greater than approval, greater than fear. Their lives are not wasted in chasing everything. They are devoted to what truly matters. In today's world, where distraction has become the silent killer of potential, the monk's way stands as the greatest rebellion. To cut off what weakens you, to silence the noise, to align every action with your higher goal. This is strength. This is freedom. And this is why weak minds collapse, while purposeful minds endure. For the one who has purpose cannot be broken by boredom, temptation, or opinion. He is driven not by the chaos around him, but by the fire within him. The greatest weakness of the human mind is fear, and the greatest of all fears is the fear of death. It is this fear that shapes the way most people live. They cling desperately to possessions because they believe these things will give them permanence. They chase status and recognition because they believe being remembered will make them last forever. They avoid risk, they compromise truth, and they silence their deepest desires, all because the shadow of death looms over them, whispering that time is running out. Weak minds collapse under this fear because they cannot face it directly. They run from the thought of death, pretending it does not exist, distracting themselves with endless busyness, entertainment, and shallow comforts. Yet the fear remains, buried beneath the surface, controlling them from the inside. A monk does not run from death. He sits with it, meditates on it, and learns from it. In many traditions, monks practice contemplating the impermanence of the body, imagining their own death, even walking in graveyards to face directly the reality that most avoid. This is not morbid or dark. It is liberating. For the monk knows a truth that weak minds cannot bear. Life is fragile, time is short, and nothing lasts forever. When this truth is embraced, fear loses its grip. Instead of collapsing under the thought of death, the monk rises above it. He lives fully, not by avoiding death, but by understanding it. To him, death is not an enemy, but a teacher. It teaches urgency, that every moment must be lived with awareness. It teaches humility, that nothing in this world can be truly owned. And it teaches fearlessness, that the end is not to be resisted, but accepted with dignity and peace. Consider how fear of death poisons the lives of ordinary people. A man stays in a job he hates, clinging to security, because the thought of losing stability terrifies him. A woman hides her true self, fearing rejection, because deep down she fears being alone. Entire societies are built on selling the illusion of safety, comfort, and permanence, yet none of it can stop the truth. Death comes for all. And because weak minds cannot accept this, they are ruled by fear, always playing small, always retreating into comfort, never daring to live fully. But the monk who has faced death is free in a way others cannot imagine. If you no longer fear death, then what is left to fear? Failure loses its sting because time is too short to fear trying. Rejection loses its grip because opinions will vanish with time. Pain loses its power because suffering too is impermanent. The monk does not live recklessly, but he lives courageously. He speaks truth even when it is unpopular because he is not afraid of losing favor. He chooses simplicity over greed because he knows wealth cannot follow him to the grave. He accepts suffering without bitterness because he knows it will not last forever. In every way, fearlessness transforms his life into one of unshakable strength. Fear of death is what collapses weak minds. They avoid life in trying to protect it. But fearlessness gives birth to clarity and power. Think of a soldier who knows he may not return home. He fights differently with full commitment because he has already accepted the cost. Think of a monk who meditates on impermanence daily. He walks differently. He speaks differently because every step and every word carries the weight of eternity. He does not waste time on meaningless distractions because he knows time itself is sacred. He does not cling to what will fade because he knows everything will. This makes him untouchable. In today's world, people will do anything to avoid thinking about death. They hide it, silence it, pretend it belongs only to the old. Yet death belongs to everyone. To contemplate it is to wake up to life. Weak minds collapse because they build their lives on denial, but strong minds rise because they live in truth. And the ultimate truth is this: you do not control how long you live, but you control how deeply you live. To live fully, you must live without fear. This is the monk's final secret, the one that makes him unbreakable. He does not fear death, and because of that, he does not fear life. He accepts that all things must pass: joy and sorrow, success and failure, life and death. And in that acceptance, he becomes fearless. He walks through the world with a calmness that nothing can disturb, a strength that nothing can weaken, and a freedom that nothing can cage. This is the highest mastery of the mind. The weak collapse because they fear the end. The strong rise because they have already made peace with it. To be fearless in the face of death is to be free in the face of life. The secret of the monk is not magic, nor is it hidden in temples far away. It is a path of the mind, a discipline so sharp that it breaks every chain of weakness. While the world runs in circles chasing desires, drowning in fears, clinging to opinions, and falling under illusions, the monk walks a different way. His power is not in wealth, not in followers, not in recognition, but in mastery over himself. And this is why weak minds collapse in his presence, Because he mirrors back what they lack: control, clarity, peace, and strength. You see, most people believe that strength is about muscles, armies, or money. But real strength is invisible. It is the ability to say no when the world tempts you, to remain calm when chaos rises, to stay true when opinions scream, and to walk alone when the crowd demands your conformity. Weakness is loud. Strength is silent. Weakness seeks approval. Strength seeks truth. Weakness fears loss. Strength accepts impermanence. This is why monks radiate unshakable power. Because they no longer fight the world. They have already conquered themselves. If you truly want to rise, if you truly want to stop being a prisoner of your own thoughts, then walk this path. Not tomorrow, not someday, but now. Train your mind as if your life depends on it, because it does. Every battle in your life begins and ends within your own head. And when you master that battlefield, no enemy outside can defeat you. The monk's secret is not just his. It can be yours, but only if you are willing to let go of weakness, embrace discipline, and choose freedom over fear. The question is not whether the path works. The question is whether you are ready to walk it.